Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news. And I muted myself and I've been doing this for 10 years and I feel like a right prat because I check that every morning and I got it wrong. Anyway, look, you better I hope someone's got ear protectors on. You don't need them if I'm muted, but I hope you've got some ear protectors on because I'm about to drop two massive microphones. Yes, two massive mic drops are coming in now. Shambles, it's getting worse. Ruben Amorim's transfer nightmare. We've got loads to talk about, but I don't think anybody's going to be talking about the two things I'm going to start off and hit it with the angle we're going to hit it, because that's what the United Stand community does. Kick in James Bond, nobody does it better, makes you feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it quite as good as you. Baby, you're the best. Because no one will hit this angle, right? Laurie Whitwell, last night, comes out with Ruben Amorim spoke to Sir Jim Ratcliffe for around 20 minutes after Manchester United beat Southampton, and club executives are committed to supporting the head coach by making moves in the market to suit his system, right? I've seen people reacting to that this morning going, this is good news. They're listening to Amorim. That Southampton result has got them putting their hands in their pocket. So in essence, Laurie Whitwell is reporting that many people are reporting that Sir Jim spoke to Ruben Amorim after the Southampton game and agreed to get him some players to suit his system. Have you figured out the issue there, people? We appointed Amorim in November. It is now the 22nd of January and Sir Jim Ratcliffe is meeting with Amorim to tell him he's going to support him in the transfer window. Why the hell did they not figure that out in November, December and from January the 1st? What a joke of a football club. This is how they spin you. They put stories out that to make you feel good. Yeah, Amorim's going to get backed in the back arse of January. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely ridiculous how that comes out. Also, this is from Fabrizio Romano. Napoli's opening bid for Garnacho is worth £42 million. Manchester United want more, I would say double. Conte is pushing. Chelsea also made contact with United and the players' side and are now deciding internally whether to bid or not. Further to that, United expected to take a price of about £55 million for Garnacho. Can I just remind people here of how ridiculous this price is? How ridiculously lowball this price is. It is absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning to me that Manchester United would look to take a price like that. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. And the big thing I would say about that is, this is a football club that in recent years, when we have knocked on the door for Koulibaly, Kalidou Koulibaly, pockets for Mino and Mane, you know the song. When we knocked on the door for Koulibaly when we got Maguire, and we were talking about 70, 75 million, which was a fair price, they wanted 100, and we had to walk away. When we wanted Osimhen, and we were willing to offer about 80, they wanted 150, and we had to walk away. So we're dealing with these lot and giving them a cut price 20-year-old when we've tried to deal with them and they've took the absolute piss. The absolute piss. And let me just say this about Garnacho, by the way. I know some of you don't like him, but if you don't like something that's expensive, do you sell it cheap? It doesn't matter whether you rate him or hate him. The point is, the value is the value. If I had a fluorescent yellow Porsche, I wouldn't like it. But I'd still sell it for full value. I wouldn't go, I bloody can't stand this, take it off me. It's an eyesore. Take it. I would go, no, it's a unique colour. It's got unique selling points and I want top value. I see people on social media going, if we can get 50 million for Garnacho, I'll be happy because I can't stand him. I hate his hair. And I'm like, you are idiots. You are absolute idiots. It's got nothing to do with whether you like the player or not. It's to do with what the value of the player is and getting the best value. Maybe Napoli don't like Osimhen anymore. They're still not selling him on the cheap because they know his value. As I said to you before, Garnacho, since 22-23, has more goal involvements than anybody in the European top 5 leagues under 21. That is a fact. That's a selling point. He also has 8 caps for Argentina. He has 118 appearances for Manchester United in the Premier League. He's got a Puskas Award. He's won the Copa America. He's won the League Cup. He's won the FA Cup. Yes, I admit he is a development player, but he has a value. And at 24, in 4 years' time, he will be better than he is now. More mature. And we're taking bids of £43 million and still negotiating. I would be saying au revoir, even though they're Italian. Au revoir, get out. Yeah, they'd be very confused, but I don't care. I'd say that means get out. Oh, we'll be back with another offer. You bloody won't. You're taking the piss. You know, some people in business, they even do it on FIFA. If you go in with a low offer, you can't put another offer in. It's called a piss take, and that is a piss take. Get out. And look, also, when we offered you good money for Koulibaly, you wanted stupid money. When we offered you good money for Osimhen, you wanted stupid money. You offer us a load of shit, and we're willing to negotiate. Shambles, absolute bloody shambles, this football club. And I tell you what as well, it gets even better, because Man United are entertaining bids for Garnacho for £43 million. Okay? So £43 million is the bid for Garnacho. This is what Lecce want, according to Fabrizio Romano. So Lecce, let me just get this right. Yeah, Lecce, this is what they want. Manchester United formal bid for Dorgu was worth 27 million euros. Not enough to convince Lecce. They want around 40 million euros. So 40 million euros is about 35 million pounds. We've just had an offer of 43 million pounds for Garnacho. An 8 million pound difference. Are you having a laugh? Bloody hell. Absolutely incredible. And I tell you what, what is really, really frustrating is that I know the truth, you know the truth, everybody knows the truth, and we can handle the truth. But Ineos and the Glazers are so focused on not telling the truth to try and protect their reputation because they'll get ridiculed. They should just tell the bloody truth. Just come out and say, we've got to take a shit price for Garnacho because if we don't, we can't buy Dorgu or anybody else. Just tell that truth, because it is the truth, and nobody can tell me any different, because there is no different, right? We've sold nobody, we've bought nobody. In the summer, we didn't buy Agate until we'd sold McTominay. In the summer, we didn't buy De Ligt and Mazraoui until we'd sold Wan-Bissaka. We know the workings of Ineos in the transfer market, and so does the rest of Europe. And we know we can't buy players without selling players. So what they should come out and do is say, but they won't do it because the world will know they're incompetent. But what they should come out and say to the fans is, we can't buy anybody if we don't sell anybody. And that's it. That's it. Don't need to say anything else, because we would know then you can't sell anybody other than Garnacho. And that is why you're selling him on the cheap, because you know you need to buy players and you've got no money. And that is why Man United are selling Garnacho, and that is why they're going to do it on the cheap. Because if they don't, they can't buy anybody. And that's it. That's the truth. And it's a crying shame, and it's a disgrace, and it's a shambles, I admit. But that is the truth. And we can handle the truth because that's the shit show. But the reason they won't tell you the truth is because the next question is, why are Manchester United in a position in January where they can't buy any players unless they sell a player, and the only player they can sell is a 20-year-old with talent on the cheap? Why are Man United in that position? I understand the position. I know that's the position. Why are we in that position? Because the Glazers put us in it and Ineos bailed them out. And that's what they don't want the story to be. And that's why they won't put it out there. They won't put it out, the truth, because it's why the truth is there. I know it, you know it. We've got to sell to buy. Why have we got to sell to buy? Because of the Glazers and what the way they've run the club over the last 20 years and the fact that Ineos kept them in power. And that's why we're being spun by like a washing machine about, no, we don't want to sell anybody really. We don't want to do it. That is the truth. And sometimes, you know, because the media predominantly is client media, where they just feed what they're given and they don't investigate properly or they don't use their brain. I mean, most of these journalists went to university for a few years to get their blue tick. They don't do anything they were taught. They just take news from a player or an agent and regurgitate it. Probably being paid for it, I don't know. But it's not journalism. Journalism is to say, Manchester United need to sell to buy. And the reason they've become like Everton and they need to sell to buy is because the club is in a shithole. And the club is in a shithole because the Glazers put it there and they're still here and Ineos bailed them out. And that's why they're still in this position. And that's the truth. But they won't put it out there. And we're left here every day watching more and more nonsense because the truth won't come out because they're too interested in their own PR, quite rightly, because if they tell the truth, there probably would be reaction from this fan base. Wasn't one of Jim's taglines before acquiring the club something along the lines of making United a respected club in the transfer market? This is a great point, Mike, because as I've always said, it's been well known, for years we've spoken about this, it's been well known in the industry, the transfer industry, that Man United are an embarrassment. Not journalism world, but, you know, agents, players, other club executives. It's been well known that Man United are viewed as a circus where you can get them to overpay, you can get good agent fees out of them, and you can rinse them. And that's been their reputation for a very long time. Has that reputation changed? No, is the honest answer. No, it hasn't. PSG felt that they got a very good deal out of Man United last summer. They got João Neves and they got rid of Agate for a very good fee. Euro price, they felt that they got a better price than Real Madrid were going to pay, and they're very happy with that deal. Bologna were very happy with the Xerxes deal, and Bayern Munich were happy for the money that they got for De Ligt and Mazraoui as well. So there was no club that felt hard done by but the players that we bought in the summer. And when you look at the January transfer window, well, Lecce are taking the piss and Napoli are taking the piss. Again, it just reminds me of over the years, Sporting, Dortmund, Leicester, Crystal Palace. These clubs are not footballing giants. And what do they have in common? They've all rinsed Manchester United, Ajax. They've all rinsed Manchester United for massive fees over the years. And now it's happening with Napoli and it's happening with Lecce, and it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, look, I did a watch along last night on That's Football. What a game, Benfica Barcelona. I mean, God, if you think officiating's bad in the Premier League, what was going on there? Poor Alvaro Fernandez, who formerly of Man United, no way was that a penalty on Yamal. No way. And he played so well, so well in a massive game, in a Champions League game against Barcelona, against one of the best young players in the world. Alvaro Fernandez played fantastic. And I tell you what will be happening this morning. A lot of big clubs will be, right, what, that player there, how do we get him? That PSG will be doing it, Bayern Munich will be doing it, Barcelona will be doing it. They'll all be looking at Alvaro Fernandez. And if he was just a Benfica product, we wouldn't have a sniff. We've got a bloody buyback on him, and we need a left back. And he was absolutely superb last night. Not the finished article, but definitely what we need. Stamina, can put a cross in the box, needs to work on his defensive positional a little bit, but is that not what Dorgu is as well? I mean, I look at Dorgu and I look at Alvaro Fernandez and I think maybe Dorgu's got slightly higher potential. Maybe Alvaro Fernandez has got slightly higher potential. But I'll tell you what, one costs you 15 million and one costs you 35. I mean, and apparently one of them we just need to pay the 15 million and there's nothing Benfica can do. I don't know. Nishant says, what's Alvaro Fernandez like going forward? Well, in the first 10 minutes, he should have had 2 assists. He did have one and he should have had another one as well. So in 10 minutes, he's a better attacking left-back than we've had in 18 months. So, yeah. I don't know why we're not going back in. I don't know. Maybe the buyback clause is a myth. Maybe it's not active till the summer. But, again, I just know that this is going to be something that we look back on in 2 or 3 years' time and go, another stupid, expensive mistake by Man United. I mean, he's literally a player we can bring back. Unless he doesn't want to come back. Unless Man United have approached him and he said, I don't want to come back to that shithole. I don't know. But again, it just looks so obvious. Selling Garnacho for 50 will pay for Mount, says 58 Circular. Mate, you know what? Very high chance we sell Garnacho for less than we paid for Mount. I mean, and that's it for me. Anything over 50 for Garnacho is fantastic. You're talking like it's 25 million. You stupidly overpaying for players doesn't inflate own players, says Space Cowboy. Mate, I'm sure there are some morons who agree with you, but your opinion is moronic because you haven't listened to anything that's been said about what I said at the start of the video. Napoli wanted £90 million for Koulibaly when we offered 70. They wanted £150 million for Osimhen. They've never negotiated with us. They've never given us a fair price, and you want to give them a player that is 25% less value. £50 million for Garnacho is an absolute disgrace in any market in the world. It's not a fair price. It's a bargain. Why are we doing it? Why is that a fantastic deal for Man United? Space Cowboy, are you Jim Radcliffe? Is that what your real name is? Because that's the sort of £5 super chat Man United would pay for a bit of positive PR. 100%. Where was this energy when we sold Elanga, says Dane Summer? Mate, again, is this Sir Jim Radcliffe again? How many burners have you got? Elanga compared to Garnacho. 2 years ago, we weren't the same people who were giving him a bloody glow up in a Forest shirt were saying, get this shit out of our football club. I don't remember Elanga, you know, winning Puskas Awards and, you know, coming on in FA Cup finals and changing the game for us. And I don't remember him having multiple good performances in a Man United shirt. You're talking out your arse. What you're trying to do is what I said at the start of the video. I don't care if you don't rate Garnacho. Nobody does. If you don't rate Garnacho, that's fine. I never rated McTominay. It's got nothing to do with that. But did I say sell McTominay for free? No, I said his value is around £30 million. And that's what we got. It doesn't matter whether you don't like a player, it's the value they have. You don't undersell just because you don't like a player. They have a value. And the value of Garnacho starts at least £70 million because every single thing that gets him up to that value, he ticks. Age, potential, what he's achieved, length of contract, loads of reasons. You don't undersell just because you think, oh, I just want to get money into the football club. How much did we spend to buy and sack the director of football, says Michael. Hi, Mark. The scary part about the Garnacho story is that if it gets done, we won't get more than that amount for any other player in this window, says Impulse. It's a fair point as well. I'd never really thought about it that. If you sell Garnacho on the cheap, you then set low prices for every other player. You can't then say, we want £100 million for Mainu. You can't then say, you know, we want £80 million for Agate if someone comes in. If you set the bar low as a selling club, you set the bar low. That's why Everton didn't want to sell Branthwaite for 45 million. They wanted to get it high so that in future they can go, well, but that's exactly what Everton did. Everton said, we're not selling Branthwaite for under £70 million because Vardiel went for 80, Harry Maguire went for 80. That's why you go with the market. Robert McCormack says, do you think Amorim would rather Dorgu than Garnacho? Says Robert. I think it's a disgrace he's in that position where he's got to make that choice, Robert. I think that's the decision of an Everton manager. Do you want a left back or do you want a talented attacker? You should have both. So that's how I would answer that question, Robert. We're Manchester United. We shouldn't be in a position where we have to sell an asset to get a left back. It's not going to happen at Man City. It's not going to happen at Arsenal. It's not going to happen at Liverpool. Liverpool aren't going to have to sell Alexi McAllister to get a striker. Arsenal aren't going to have to sell Gabriel to get a striker. And Man City aren't going to have to sell Phil Foden to get, I don't know, another goalkeeper. And I know Phil Foden's better than Garnacho, but what I'm saying is they're all assets for that team and they're not going to have to sell them to get a player in. But this is what Everton would have to do. If Everton want a striker, they probably would have to sell Branthwaite. Ineos have divided the fan base further, says Cruel. If Garnacho was at Bournemouth and we were looking to get him, what is the amount you would be looking to pay? Well, I'll tell you what, Tusha, let's put him at Brighton and the price is north of 90. You know it is. Evan Ferguson, 18 months ago, when he was scoring goals, was £100 million if someone wanted to pay it. Obviously, he's cheaper now, but you know that's what they would have charged. Neil McGrain, welcome to Members Club. You said be mad when they start selling youth. I am. Need to keep Garnacho, Yoro, Ahmad, Mainu, Rasmus. They're the future. Season's done anyway. Wait for the summer. They are 20 years old. They need support, not pressure, says Marcus. How did local lad Jim take a club he loves and made it worse than the owners who can't care less about the club? This needs to be studied, says Julian. What did somebody say last night on That's Football Watch Along? This needs to be studied better by better business journalists, because how much money are Ineos going to make by rebuilding Old Trafford and the contracts they'll get from that? I mean, is there stuff like that that's going to make Ineos a load of money? How did selling Garnacho for anything less than 75 million when we paid 85 million for Sancho is crazy. Garnacho does things none of our players can. Glazers out, says Cruel. Jim's play your cards right. Garnacho lower, lower, lower. Dorgu higher, higher, higher. Casemiro, Rashford. You'll get nothing for that pair, says Sandeep. And if you ignore cost, hypothetically, who would you rather, Kuna or Osimhen? That's a tough question, Tommy. That is a tough question because Osimhen's a proven goal scorer and he's experienced, but Kuna gets hold of the ball with energy behind the striker, and we need that as well. We really lack driving pace from that position apart from Ahmad. So I'd probably go Kuna if I'm being honest. Patrick Lynch says, for transfers, remember Amorim is not the manager. Ineos have a board because they wanted to have a say on mainly recruitment. Amorim doesn't get a say on transfer strategy and it's a shambles. Rack, I was muted for the first super chat. Sorry about that. And we blew our January transfer market budget on sacking Ten Hag and Dan, says Daniel. Well, you know what? Sorry, what's this? Yeah, good one. Okay. Interestingly, just on Rashford, I'd say the chances of Rashford staying this morning have probably gone up slightly. I don't know whether you've seen the news, but Dortmund lost last night to Bologna. They've sacked their manager, Sahin. Ten Hag is lined up for the Dortmund job. I'll tell you what, from Ten Hag's point of view, get sacked by Man United and end up Dortmund's manager. I mean, he loves the Bundesliga, and that's a bloody good job. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be a success, but if you've been sacked by Man United, it doesn't necessarily go that well, does it? You know, you look at Van Gaal, where did he go? Moyes never really got near it again. West Ham, and you know, I think he went to Spain, didn't he? And he's back at Everton again. Jose, where did Jose go? Spurs? Did he go Spurs after us? You know, I think that if Ollie has only just got a job, Besiktas, Ranić ended up as Austria coach. If he ends up with that Dortmund job, I think that's a good job. But more importantly, that's the end of Rashford to Dortmund. So Milan don't want Rashford anymore. Napoli don't want Rashford anymore. Juventus, I don't know whether they ever did, but they're not in the race anymore because they've got Mawani. Dortmund, Ten Hag, that stops that. Barcelona, so it's Barcelona or nothing, really. And I don't trust, but I mean, I watched Barcelona last night and Rafinha, Yamal, Lewandowski. I mean, I don't know. Ten Hag loves Rashford though, says Nishan. Yeah, but Rashford doesn't love Ten Hag. I agree. Nobody defended Rashford more than Ten Hag, but where was the thank you to Ten Hag from Rashford? Every player, Garnacho, Mainu, they all did a thank you to Ten Hag. The only two who didn't were Rashford and Casemiro. And you can understand Casemiro's because he couldn't stand him at the end. But Rashford, I never really understood that because Ten Hag always had his back. But you know, maybe he can go to Dortmund then. But I don't. I get the feeling that was do it. Cruel says, any positive news this morning? I had a lovely smoothie for breakfast. My fingers stopped bleeding. I've took the plaster off, look. You can probably see. No, it won't do that. It won't focus on it. No, you can't really see it. Alvarez won't return, says Ollie. Club want pounds from sell-on. I mean, is that not a brilliant point? I mean, the way you think as a community, I can't do it all. Whereas, I am very good, but it's impossible to know everything. I think that's a great point. I think that's a great point by Ollie. Why aren't we bringing Alvaro back? Because he's clearly going to get bought by Barcelona or Real Madrid or PSG in the next couple of years, and we will get money from that. So why would you spend money on bringing somebody back when you know you're going to get some money on them in the future? It's sad, isn't it? Because the money we get from that is probably going to be about 10 million. But they'll be going, that's 10 million we banked on the spreadsheet. It'll be there in projected next year. Great point. Absolutely great point. It's probably a reason why we're not bringing Alvaro Fernandez back, because we've probably already banked the profits of that in the next 2 years. Glazers lowering demands. They may as well drop their pants, says Kana Dave. And also, remember, another point, Ollie, you've just got me thinking, if it's going to cost us 16 million to bring Alvaro Fernandez back, it's going to cost us 10 million to get Dorgu. What do you mean? What are you talking about? You know what I'm talking about. We'll pay 35 million for Dorgu. We'll overpay, but we'll give it to Lecce over 3 or 4 years. So it'll cost us 10 million a year. Whereas Alvaro Fernandez will pay 15 million now because it's a buyback. So United will go, well, that's 5 million more expensive, even though it's not. Because United are a business and businesses run year to year. They don't think about anything other than the cost today. So even though Alvaro Fernandez will be 15 million and Lecce want 35, because we'll be giving them 10 in year one, we'll think Dorgu's actually cheaper because that's how business people work. So thanks, Ollie. You got my brain thinking there. Mark, do you reckon we could send Onana to Dortmund and get Kobel if Ten Hag gets the position? Oh my God, James, you've just reminded me. A little bit of good news, a little bit of light relief, a little bit of I can't speak. Did you see the Paul Scholes clip last night? This is Exhibit A. It's normally Gary Neville. It can be Roy Keane. It certainly is Rio a lot. But Paul Scholes has taken the mantle of this one, right? He's being asked about Man United players. And he says, I'd keep Onana, but I'd sell De Ligt. They don't watch football. They don't watch. They're not watching games, are they? They clearly aren't watching games. I can't remember the name of the pundit. I can't remember who it was. It wasn't a Man United player. But they were on some podcast, you know, Speak Honestly podcast. It wasn't on Sky or TNT. And they basically said, look, when you've played the game for 20 years, week in, week out, and you retire, the last thing you want to do is watch every bloody game like a football fan. If you get paid to be a pundit, you turn up, you watch the game, the producer feeds you stuff, and you just talk off knowledge. You don't talk off experience of games that you're watching. And I think this is what they do. They must do. How could any Man United fan say, I'd keep Onana and sell De Ligt? There's no logic. There is. I can't. Sometimes I'll look at something and go, it's just a different opinion. Like people who say they'd sell Garnacho for £50 million, they're doing it because they don't like Garnacho. They're not thinking about actually other market values and the ticks that Garnacho does. But with that statement, I would sell De Ligt to. I would sell De Ligt and keep Onana. I mean, that's just somebody who really, if they are watching football games, what are you doing while you're watching football games? But clearly you're not watching. Or third option, it is something that's quite prevalent in football, especially with ex-players, a bias. It's a bias. For some reason, maybe he said at the start of the season that De Ligt was a bad signing or something. Some players are, we see it in content creation. We see it in our community. We see it in fan bases. It is more prevalent these days, and it's called I told you so. There's a lot of people out there that put "I told you so" over the benefits of the team they're supposed to support, and maybe Scholes doesn't like the signing of De Ligt. Maybe he said something in the summer. I can't remember. A lot of people did, but that is just incredible. For me, De Ligt is comfortably in our top 5 players of the season. And considering most of our players have been shit, I think he's actually done very well. I mean, look, it was literally a week and a half ago that he got a 10 from me and was man of the match against Arsenal. So how anybody could look at Onana over the last 18 months and say you'd keep him over De Ligt is incredible. I mean, I would keep Luke Shaw over Onana. No, I wouldn't go that far. I'm trying to think of a player that's... I'd keep... No, that's too obvious. I'm trying to think of a controversial player I would keep over Onana that's not ridiculous. Luke Shaw's ridiculous. I'd keep Mason Mount over Onana. No, I would keep Mason Mount now over Onana on the off chance that Mason Mount might be able to stay fit. I don't think he can. I don't think he can stay fit, but I would take the risk. If somebody said to me, you can sell Onana for 50 million or you can sell Mount for 50 million, I would sell Onana for 50 million because Mount, I still think there's a good player there if he can perform a miracle and stay fit. Whereas Onana, I just think he is what he is. So, yeah, I would. Yeah, incredible. Anyway, if Rashford... Sorry, let me catch up on some of your thoughts. There are still some stories to bring into you, by the way. Why has Gary Neville gone so quiet, says Reginald? Well, a lot of people think he's in with Ineos. There's definitely something going on with the regeneration of Manchester. And there'll be a lot of money involved in that. So, look, at the end of the day, I've got to be fair. It is, from a fan point of view, you've got somebody who's very vocal when it suits them about everything. And then suddenly they're very quiet. So that is a bit hypocritical, of course, and you will get called out for that. If you put yourself in the public eye and you gob off and then you suddenly go quiet, you become a bit of a hypocrite. But from a business point of view, imagine you do a deal with somebody and you sign the contract and you're going to make a lot of money out of it, and then suddenly that person is a shambles. Are you going to start going, he's a shambles? You know, Gary might be into something that puts him in a very difficult position. But that's where Sky and everybody else should be looking at it and going, well, he's, what's the word for it? Not conflicted. What's the words? What is the word? I should know this. He's not impartial. Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. But Sky is so badly run, they wouldn't do that. You shouldn't have pundits on who are, you know, literally... You know, Jamie Carragher shouldn't be on Sky if he's working with the owners of Liverpool to regenerate the area of Anfield. But I don't know whether that's actually going on. You know, maybe Gary Neville's done his podcast today and said Ineos are a load of shit. But it would be useful if he did start doing that because we missed that voice. Yechi says, what's all this De Ligt propaganda? Been hearing it for a long time. He's genuinely a guy you can trust. And that's a really huge statement in this team. I don't know what it is with De Ligt, Yechi. He gets no credit from the media in this country. He gets no credit from ex-players in this country. It's, I think it's the Harry Maguire effect. I think when he came in, they all love Harry Maguire, so they hated De Ligt. But the hypocrisy of that is they actually play really well together because we play a back three. So they sort of had the agenda against De Ligt because he was the replacement for Maguire. But they haven't adjusted their agenda to the fact that they actually play in the same team. Welcome to Members Club, Dennis Barlow. Onana, yeah, I'm not reading that, Pete. But Mark, you should respect everything that Scholes said. He's one of our goats, so his opinion deserves respect. It's DS. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. That for me is idiocy of a Pratt level. People earn respect for different things, but respect is earned. Paul Scholes is a legend as a player. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a legend as a player. Does that mean when he was, you know, fucking it up as a manager every week at Man United, we should have gone, let's not criticise him. He's earned our respect. You just box it off. People earn respect in different ways. Liam Gallagher, as a singer in Oasis, is a legend. But his opinions on other things are absolutely shit. So, there are levels to this game. You don't exclusively respect somebody because they did something here. You know what? There might be somebody out there that does amazing charity work. And then you get home from work one day, you hear a noise in the bedroom and they're banging your missus. Do you respect them and say, I'll make you a cup of tea? Do you want me to run a shower? No. Hi, Mark. Doing a great job. Keep up the good work, says James. United board is the only board that will flog their rising talent for 50 million. This needs to be studied. Real or others will get 70 million, says Ray. They won't. They just wouldn't do it. Do you reckon we could send Onana to Dortmund and get Kobel if Ten Hag gets the position, says James? No, because Ten Hag, if we offered Onana to him, would probably go, no thanks, even though he did that. Yechi says, if Rashford stays, it's a disgrace. A player who has not played for over a month, it's a vacation. Are we serious? Glazers are lowering demands. They may as well drop their pants, says Kana Dave. Rashford didn't have to thank him publicly, says Dan. No, he didn't, Dan. You're right, Dan. Rashford didn't have to thank Ten Hag publicly, and he didn't have to apologise to the fans publicly when he went out on the piss in Belfast. He also didn't have to post about what a great training session he had with Amorim on the first day. But he did. And nobody has to do anything. But in a world of PR and brand, they know what they're doing. And they know what they're doing when they don't do it. So, would an Osman swap for Garnacho be fair value, Mark, says Eamon? You know what, mate? This is a great question, and I'm not going to swerve it. A straight swap for Osman and Garnacho would be fair value. Yeah. Yeah, it would. I'm not, you know what? I don't want Garnacho to go. But if we're talking about value, because he is going to go, my big frustration here is the symbolisation of selling young talent, because that's not what United should do, and the price we're going to get. They're the two big issues with it. And third issue is why we're doing it, because we're broke and we need to sell to buy, and that's because of the Glazers and Ineos. But if you did a straight swap with Osman and Garnacho, I would say it's about fair value, because 20-year-old Garnacho, with all the things he's done, is worth about £75 million. And Osman at 26, despite falling off a little bit in the last 18 months, is still 26, proven top-class striker, 75 million. So I think, as much as I don't want it to happen, and as much as I think it's a disgrace that we're going to do it, that Osman is a £75 million striker. So that's the price I think Garnacho is. I still don't think we should do it, but that's the price. And I think that's where some people are getting confused, because I know Garnacho's going to go. I think that's a disgrace. But I can't just go, no, I'm not in charge. What I can do is say there is a value. And the value for me is £75 million. That is a fair price for everything he's done in the game and everything he's projected to do. And what I struggle with is that we paid £50 million for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, a Crystal Palace young right-back with potential to become an England right-back. We paid £80 million for Harry Maguire in his mid-20s because he was an England centre-back. We paid £55 million for Mason Mount with 1 year left on his contract because he was homegrown. We've paid ridiculous money for potential. And now people want to ignore the fact that Garnacho also has potential, even though we and many other clubs have paid for that. Casido at Brighton, Enzo Fernandez from Benfica, £100 million each, young, with potential to grow. So in every other transfer, being 20, 21, it will increase your value because of the potential you've got. But at Man United, we're going, no, that doesn't actually matter. That doesn't actually matter. And it does matter. Financially, it matters, and they know it matters, because as I've said to you before, if I buy a player for £50 million who's 20, all I need them to do is be decent, and I'll get that money back and more at 25. And I'll get 5 years out of them as well, which in the modern game, 5 years of a good player and then you sell them and make a profit is incredible business. And that is why clubs like Brighton sell Caicedo for 100 million, because they know if he does well at Chelsea, Chelsea will make a profit on him at 26 and get 6 years out of him. You have to project that in. It's what business is. But, you know, some of you are being fooled by the crux of the problem is that the Glazers and Ineos won't tell you the truth, that they have to sell if they want to buy players, and they have to sell cheap because they can't sell anybody else, and that's it. And why are they doing it? Because the club's in a mess, and that's the truth. We're not in a... I think some people want to believe we're Manchester United, and we're, you know, we've still, you know, we're Manchester United, and we don't get the piss taken out of us, and we get top dollar, and we, you know, we manipulate people and we win, and we don't. We get rinsed on what we pay, and we get mugged on what we sell. And those amounts add up to tens of millions of pounds. Dorgu is worth 20 million. Garnacho is worth 75. So we should be buying Dorgu and selling Garnacho and still have 50 million pounds in our pocket. What we're actually going to do is sell Garnacho for about 50 and buy Dorgu for about 35 and have 15 million pounds in our pocket instead of 50. And that is why we're in a mess. Thanks for all the super chats. Right, Mark, if the tables were turned and we were buying a player like Garnacho from someone else, we'd all be excited. Yes, we would, Rob. And I think there are a number of performances from Garnacho in the last 2 years where if we were talking about selling him, there'd be protests. You know, I think about the FA Cup final when he came on for Sancho in the Man City game that we lost, and he was amazing. There's been numerous games where he's played absolutely brilliant, but you know, the best time to force a player out is when you've unsettled them and made them unhappy and they're not performing on the pitch. It's all part of the game. Something has to be done, says Hosni. It's been more than a decade of downfall. It's now or never. This is our club. It might be their business, but it's about time we take our club back, says Hosni. Also, it's annoying we had someone that would have bought the whole club, but because Ineos was so desperate, we're now having to sell our most promising young player on the cheap. Disgrace, says Liam J. Would you take Chris Wood for 25 million? No. The more you know, I wouldn't. Is it true that they're going to sell Garnacho for about 46 million? Says Di. I think about 50, yeah. Ineos, I like putting a learner driver behind the wheel of a 40-ton truck. It's all over the place, can't control it and it'll crash, says Methane Man. Would you rather not sell Garnacho and stick with what we have till next window, or sell Garnacho and buy a player or two this window, says Crazy Common? I mean, it's a good question, and you know, some people do deal in absolutes and they'll make a choice. I would say that I don't need to deal in absolutes because you're giving a very distinctive situation there. Keep Garnacho, buy nobody. Sell Garnacho, buy somebody. But you're not taking into account that what am I selling Garnacho for? I would rather not sell him under value than sell him and get some money. It's just pure desperation. I would rather not sell under value. I think it reminds me of Barcelona and their levers a couple of years ago. If you act desperate, things will get worse. And as we said, you sell Garnacho for £50 million, you've just devalued your whole squad. You basically, someone knocks on the door in the summer for Delo and goes, there's 30 million, and United go, we want 50. And we go, that club goes, you want 50 for Delo? You just sold 20-year-old Garnacho for 50, and he's this. And Delo is a fullback, and you want 50 million, forget it. So it sets a precedent. But look, I want to go back to something I said at the start of the show, because I think it's really important. The spin effect, I call it. So this thing that Laurie Whitwell said, that Amorim met with Sir Jim Radcliffe for 20 minutes after the Southampton game, and Sir Jim agreed that they're going to back him with his system and make some moves in the market. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? That's meant to be a positive. That will have come from Laurie Whitwell, from the club, client journalism, positivity, put some positivity out there. And actually, it's a disgrace again. You know, why is Sir Jim Radcliffe talking to the manager of Man United at the end of January about, yeah, we're going to back you now? Why weren't we doing it on the 1st of January? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've needed a left back for 18 months. We need a striker. We need more wingers. We need midfielders. We needed all these players a month ago. Why do you need to watch a shit performance against Southampton and have a chat with the manager to go, yes, we're going to back you now? But this is the sort of crap that we get fed. And I actually saw people on social media celebrating it. Yes, Ineos mean business. And I'm like, it's the 22nd of January and they've agreed to start looking at buying players. We all know the truth. They had no intention of spending anything in January, did they? If the results hadn't been so bad, they weren't going to spend anything. How can we ever be successful as a football club when we've got owners who don't know what's going to happen? If I spoke to any Man United fan on the 1st of January and said, do you want to bring some players in or do you think we're okay? 99.9% of you would say, we need to bring some players in. But clearly Ineos were going, no, we'll be fine. And then they watch the Southampton game and go, Amorim's there going, I need players. And they go, you've twisted my arm. You're right. These people are meant to be in charge. The manager is employed. The manager is an employee. The manager should not be the guy telling the owners, we need to buy players. They should know their fucking club needs players. And this happened a few years ago. Can you remember when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was top of the league? I remember a little clip going, we are top of the league, said we are top of the league, or something like that. I knew we weren't going to win the league, but we were top of the league in January under Ole. And I said, now is the time to go and buy a couple of players because we'll regret it in May. Did we? No. Did we win the league? No. We were miles off. We didn't even turn it into a title challenge. But again, that's Glazeonomics. How many times over the years have we looked at a January transfer window and gone, if we bring a couple of players in here, we'll get top 4. Or if we bring a couple of players in here, we could get in a title race. Or if we bring a couple of players in here, we could win that cup. And they never do it. They never do it until the shit hits the fan. We only bought, I mean, I don't want to scare people, but it's true. You know when we bought Bruno Fernandes, we weren't going to buy Bruno Fernandes. We bought Bruno Fernandes and we weren't going to buy him. You know why we bought Bruno Fernandes in January? I'll give a prize to the first correct answer in the chat. We weren't going to buy Bruno Fernandes in January. It was a desperation signing prompted by a couple of events, and it wasn't the plan to buy him. And if we hadn't have got him in January, I don't think we would have got him in the summer. So this is how this football club gets run year after year after year. There is no common sense at the top of the football club. It wasn't because he was going to Spurs. No, it was Tottenham tried to get him in the summer. It wasn't because he was going to go to Spurs. It was because we lost to Burnley. Well, we did lose to Burnley, Mike. That might have helped a little bit. It was injuries to McTominay and Pogba. Yeah, that's why we did it. McTominay and Pogba both got injured in and around December, January time, and that prompted us to get into the January transfer market. So, you know, it's terrifying to think even a signing like that was a reaction to something. It wasn't planned. And, you know, same ownership. They better deliver Dorgu, Alvaro, Kuna and Luis if they sell our star boy Garnacho, says NSP. And if Garnacho was at another club, he wouldn't even consider coming to a 13th-place United. Who says players want to even come to this club? I love hearing that Amorim told the players to shape or truck off, says Mark Twain. And we should go straight in for Kuna if Garnacho transfer happens, says Benjamin. And if is Barada an agent for City trying to ruin United from within? And what happened to Sir Jim bigging up Arsenal and their approach, says Marlow. There's no way Garnacho is worth less than 80 million, but if he leaves for cheaper than that and we keep Rashford, I'm 100% Ineos out, says Daniel. Ineos and Glazers out, says Hosni. This is our club. It might be their business, but it's about time we take our club back. Thank you very much for that. Look, I said it yesterday as well. When you're being forced out of somewhere, you can't criticise the player for where they go. You know, I understand why Garnacho might want to go to Chelsea. The same reason I would understand if Marcus Rashford wanted to go to Arsenal. I wouldn't want either thing to happen, but I wouldn't understand it. If Man United want to get rid of the player, I don't think you're really in a position to say you can't go there. If that player doesn't want to leave Man United and is being forced out, if you can get that player out, I think it's wrong to then say you can't go there if that club are willing to give you the fee. And I can understand why Garnacho might want to go to Chelsea. They've got a load of young players like Cole Palmer, etc. They've got a manager that wants to nurture that. They've got an exciting project. It's in the Premier League. They're going to play in the Club World Cup in June. I understand why Garnacho wants to go to Chelsea, if he wants to go to Chelsea. Because Man United have basically said, we don't want you. So if he wants to stay in the Premier League, and I would want to stay in the Premier League, I wouldn't want to go to the Italian League, I can understand why I'd want to go there. But I don't think it will happen. But I do think it's taking the piss from United to go, he's up for sale, but you're not going to Chelsea. Like, if you're putting a player up for sale like that, and you're desperate for money, I don't think you can then start saying, look, if I was Chelsea, I'd offer 65 million. Napoli are never going to go there. If I was Chelsea, I'd offer 65 million, and I'll guarantee all those Chelsea fans out there that are going, we don't want him, we don't want him. Trust me, you spend 65 million on Garnacho, and in 3 years, he'll be worth more than that. And he'll be a good player for you as well. It will be a bargain at 65 million. If I was Chelsea, in fact, if I was Chelsea, I'd offer 60, because Napoli won't offer 60. I'd offer 60 cash, and the business people at United will take it. But absolute disgrace. Is United standing in the presser today? So Shaunak, we are. We will be live at about 1:30 reacting to that. Should be an interesting press conference. I'd be stunned if there aren't questions about Garnacho. I predict that Amorim will have been briefed on that, and I predict that he will come at it an angle of we want to keep him, but obviously it's not up to us. I think that Ineos are desperate that the truth doesn't get out, that they're selling to buy. But I think there's also interesting things to be said about the worst Premier League side, the fallout after the game. I think it's going to be a very interesting interview, actually. I'm looking forward to that. And we will react live to it on here. About getting Bruno, clearly injuries don't mean anything now, as we haven't had a left-back for 18 months, as King Callum. And selling Garnacho instead of Rashford is a repeat of McTominay instead of Casemiro. Why can't Ineos focus on Casemiro and Lindelof? Because they can't sell him, Mo. You're absolutely spot on. But they can't sell him. I wasn't McTominay's biggest fan, but he 100% shouldn't have gone before Casemiro. You're absolutely correct. But the reason we do it is because we don't look at ability, we look at price tag. And the reason we got rid of McTominay, and Patrick Lynch has said this a few times, it's not about who needs to go, it's about who can go. So McTominay represents 30 million. And Casemiro, I'm not crying about McTominay. We sold McTominay because we could get money for him. We kept Casemiro because nobody wants him. That's what we are. That's another example. We're a sell to buy football club. We sell assets and we keep shit. And you're never going to be successful if you do that. 17,000 watching. Absolutely incredible. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. It's a 7 o'clock show again tonight because it's 8 o'clock on That's Football. What a watch along that was last night. Benfica, Barca. Hopefully PSG will beat City tonight. 7 o'clock tonight, but we are back for the press conference reaction at about 1:30 live. I'll be on that because Beth's at the presser. And anything breaks in between, we'll obviously go live as well. Thank you, everybody, this morning. Absolute legends. Lots of interesting debate, as usual. Boris the Blade says, bring back Ten Hag. Only geezer with balls we've had since Sir Alex. You keyboard warriors ruined a good thing. Garnacho hasn't been the same since. Okay, Boris. I think we'll leave it with that. Enough internet for this morning. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit.